Okay, and then after we did that, very typical. I slid from the B, from a B and a half or B flat, stopped it with the cracks, up bow on the C, and then down bow trill. So we use that type of ornament a lot in this music. It's basically slides, trills, fills, and stops. The fills that we do melodically in this music are they're not like jazz. I've heard people call klezmer music the Jewish jazz. And that's like saying Danny Boy is an Irish tune. Well, okay, it comes from an Irish tune, but it's really a American songbook tune in a way. But it's more like Baroque. We fill spaces. If we have a fifth, we might do a scale running up. If we have an octave, for instance, in this Budovitz Bulgar that we were just doing, let's see. There was a slide. This part, I just added that. So we do a lot of filling of spaces in this music. So here's what I'd like to do. We're going to do about a 4-day workshop in 1 hour today. So just saying. I'm going to play, and I'd like you to regurgitate back to me. Not literally, but I'd like you to play also. So we'll kind of do it in a Simon Says type way. And even if you're not getting all of the ornamenty stuff, listen at the micro level, like really like the Colombo level. You have to listen to all the different elements. That the notes themselves are not literally not very hard, actually. So I'm going to go through this, the first 8 bars of this, let's see, maybe 2 bars at a time. And I'll do each one twice, okay? I hope I can keep my place. Let's just see if I can. Okay, here we go. First me, then you. I know, does anybody not have the music in front of them because they can't see it? Okay, everybody has it kind of up on their computer screen at least? Great. So, me, then you. First me. Okay, now I'm going to do it again. Okay. I know it's confusing. Don't worry. We have lots of time.
Cookie,
Yes.
we're playing from a G minor chart.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Hold on.
Octave up.
Okay. Oh, an octave up? Wait. Yeah, right. Sorry about that. Go ahead. There you go. Have to let the doggy out. Okay. So does it start on a D? Wait. C, D.
Yeah, open D.
Oh, you have that. Okay, I see. Didn't I send it in G minor? What key did I send it in, Katie?
This looks like G minor.
Oh,
Goes
okay.
to
It
B
starts on
flat
the
for a
open
little
G.
while.
Right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sometimes I start the octave below. So, here it is. So this one, did I play it for you? Which key did I play it for you in? I play this in so many different. Okay, I have it in front of me now. Sorry about that. Got it.
Yeah, I think you were doing it in C minor before.
Whatever. Okay. All right, here we go. So I'm going to do that again. Okay, here we go. That's a little easier with that open string. Now, I'm going to play it down a lower octave too, because I jump octaves all the time. So try that. Okay. Now, second 2 measures. Okay, I'm going to try it again. I'll do it slow motion. Okay, next part. Same as before. Nothing there but a little tiny rhythmic thing. Now I'm going to play the last four measures in that line to show you how I would get up to the top note there. Okay, let me just move this out of the way. Here we go. I see you all. Okay, so we had this at the end, which I sometimes play. Okay. So, whole first line, then me, then you. Here's the rhythm of this, by the way. Violas are traditionally used to play chords, just saying. You might as well try that. I'm playing open G and first finger on my C string, and you can think of the rhythm as it's a Bulgar, I tell you. It's a Bulgar, I tell you. Yeah, so I go down and up, down, up, down, up. I would vary that with or if I wanted to D, B flat, G, B flat, D, F sharp. And I would do those interchangeably. Okay, whole first line, me, then you. 1, 2, here I go. Okay, good. Okay, great. So next line, of course, the first four measures are the same as the first four measures of the top line. So I'm going to go to the last four measures. And I want you to listen to the treatment of the 16th notes and the treatment of bowing and all that kind of stuff. Okay? So first me, then you. Wait, let's see. Let's try that. It's all crooked. Good. So here it is again. Try it. Okay. Okay, now I want to play through these
You do that descending figure one more time. That's the last bar.
The second to last bar?
Yeah.
So notice I didn't play the half note. I played basically 2 quarter notes. Part of that reason is if you're playing for dancing, you really don't want to have, depending on what the dance is, we don't really leave silences. So I wouldn't play, just wouldn't do it. I always would give some kind of second beat. Also, it's very common to really anticipate the entrances of each phrase. Part of the reason is if the dancers are going a certain speed and you go their speed, they will slow down. So as long as your bass and accompaniment, your bass and chord players are keeping pretty steady, you as a melody player oftentimes will be pushing ahead of the melody of the bass. And even though you're pushing ahead, so there's a little bit of a disparate rhythmic thing happening, but the dancers really will respond a split second after they hear the tune, so they stay in time with the bass. Okay, so let's play through these 16 bars. Yeah, let's play through these 16 bars together. And what I would suggest is that you play along, but play quietly enough to hear me. Okay, and we're only going to do it one time. We won't do the the repeat. I'm going to also kind of, what I'm hoping to do today is give you an introduction into these three types of tunes. So we won't spend a lot more time on this tune. I think we're recording this, right? Do people have access to this, Katie and Daria?
We can arrange that.
It's fine with me. I think that would be great because then I can cover more material. I think that's fine. So, we're gonna. I'm gonna give you 2 bars of a vamp. I hate vamps, but I'm gonna give you a 2-bar vamp, and we're gonna play these 16 bars together. And again, try to play quietly enough to hear me, but try it out. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, everybody okay? Nobody got hurt? Good. So one of the things is when you see the triplets, it's very rare, and I'll just cover this for a minute. We would never, ever, ever, ever do that. And I use the second note in the set of 6 as a crèche. So really, another typical cadence ending in the middle of a repeat, a backwards octave scale. Very typical. Also very typical to switch octaves. Okay, so let's just try that together. Oh, by the way, I use this tune. I have a lot of students. I use these tunes for etudes because this is a great way to teach second position. Third going to second, going to first. And I have some kids who go, I don't like classical music. I go, okay, well, let's do something harder. So we do this. Anyway, so let's just play through this again one time through. We'll just quickly go over the 16th note section of 25, and then I want to go to the Jacques, the Moldavian Jacques. So here we are with measure 17. 1 and 2 and ready and go and... etc. Great, great. And then on the next part, it's pretty much, you don't have time to do much except the trills that you see written there. But I don't play those 16th notes particularly evenly. I don't play. I don't play it that way. I play it a little clipped. So. you can see that this is basically because I will be pushing ahead, as I said, of the accompaniment, the bass, and the chord playing. Now, one thing to note is, for instance, when Dvoretsky Pass plays something, we don't have, the accordion doesn't necessarily play, oh, somebody's trying to come in. Let's see, I can let him in. The accordion doesn't just play chords, and the bass doesn't just play bass. We basically have what we call controlled chaos, because Josh will play a counter line to what I'm doing, and Stuart, the bass player, will oftentimes play some kind of walking line. So it's almost like, what's that fancy word for it? Oh, I can't remember. Contrapuntal. It's a little bit like that. But if we're playing for dancing, it'll be different, because then Josh will give me much more of a rhythmic treatment. So let's just play this last. We'll play this last section with the repeat. And how about I will play it first, and then you play it on the second time, and then we'll switch to the Jacques. Okay, first me, then you. I'll play the whole thing with the repeat by myself. Ready, and here I go. And I'm not going to stop. So as soon as I'm done, jump in. Okay, here you go. And now with me. Okay, good, great, great, great. All right, any questions before we jump to the Jacques? If you have a question, unmute yourself and let me know. Anything?
Yeah, this is Dee Dee.
Okay.
Hi, listen. So is it really 2/4, or is there another meter going on here?
Well, it's 2. So it's 2-ish. Like I'm Jewish, it's 2-ish. We write klezmer tunes in 2/4 and 3/8, no matter what's happening. But because the Bulgar is taken, also related to the Romanian Serba, there's always a triplet feeling in that. So we do write it in 2/4. But it's really about what the dance is doing. If they do a true Bulgar, there's a 6-step. It's a 6-step dance over 4 beats, or 3 over 2. If they do step, back, cross, cross, that's 6 things. So if they're doing a Freilich, which just means happy, that's a 2-beat dance. And so no matter what you're doing, if I'm doing triplets, 16th notes, or 8ths, the dancers are stepping on either the quarter notes or the 8th notes. So that's something to know. Okay, good. Any other questions before we jump to the Jacques? Gosh, like the phone hasn't rang in like 3 days. And of course, as soon as I do this. All right.
Just mention one more time where you would do the slides up.
So if I'm going up, if I'm going from, I often, especially in a slower tune, like you'll see on this one, I'll do much more slides. So, let's see. I do a little bit sometimes coming down. It's a little drip. Now, if we do that too much, people get seasick. So you have to really be aware of if it's becoming patternistic. And every player, every group of experienced klezmer players has a slightly different style, depending on who they learn. It's like traditional American fiddling. Who did you learn from? If you learn from J.P. Fraley, you're going to be a pretty clean fiddler. If you learn from some of the other ones, you're going to hit a lot of open strings. So really, it's really, I think, some people say regionally based, but I think it's really fiddler based. So anyway, okay, so the Jacques is a dance in 3 that has a, it's related to the Jewish or Romanian hora, which is also a dance in 3. With these types of, especially in the Jewish treatment or the Klezmer treatment of these, it's also called a limping dance. So I'm going to do the same thing, except this time I'm not going to play the repeats. I'm going to play it for you, and then we'll learn it together. This, and the rhythm for this, which is important to know, is a 1-3-1, but the 3 is early. 1 ka-3 1 ka-3 1 3 1. It's like that. So the chords would be going. And the other thing about that is that some of these melodies come from Romanian tunes that are in 7. And the Jewish dances are only in 2 or 3. So what they did is they took the 7 and crunched it into 3. So really, it might be coming from 1 2 3 4 da 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 da. But we go da 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 da. Let's see. No, we go da 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 da. There's a famous, not famous, but in the Klezmer world, the Tatar dance, which is. But it comes from so it comes from a dance in 7, but the Jews don't dance in 7, so they just crunched up the last 3 beats. Okay, so the other thing to know is I'm playing in kind of, like I said, a Ukrainian and Hungarian style because that's just where I come from. So Ukraine and Hungary aren't necessarily musically related at all, but my parents were from Ukraine, my mother from a Hungarian town in what's now Ukraine. It was Czechoslovakia back then, so it's all mixed up. But so I tend to play in that style. Anyway, here's the Moldavian Jacques. Let's see. Oh, I'm doing the wrong key, sorry. Okay, etc., etc. And you see, I'm not playing in any way. Now, a lot of klezmer players play it.
Could you lift your scroll as the bottom part of your hand is missing sometimes?
Oh, for you to
going
see.
Too low.
Okay, actually, maybe I can make this
Adjust
camera.
the camera. Maybe.
Got it. Yeah, I think I can adjust it here. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, let's see if I can do that. Is that? That's worse, right? Okay, never mind. I'll just adjust myself. Okay, let me just put that back to where it was. Okay. Better? Yeah. Anyway, okay. So I tend to shorten these beats kind of in a Hungarian way, I guess. And notice, if I don't know whether you noticed, but in measure 6, or measure 7, I didn't play what was written. I didn't play. I didn't play that. I've been playing this so long without the black dots in front of me, I kind of forgot what's there. So that's just how I've been playing it. In real life, if we were to have a full day of a klezmer workshop, I would insist we do it by ear. So I might send you the chart and say you can look at it, leave it home. Because really there's a certain internalization, and it's not memorization. It's just learning something physically and, you know, in a different way than learning it with dots. But anyway, so in this one, the thing that I wanted to show you was more melodic variations that we would do. So I would like to do the same thing that we did before. I'll play, say, the first 4 measures, and then you play it back to me. But then I want to do a couple of different melodic variations on, say, the last 3 bars of the first line. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. Okay, I'm going to make it so you can see my hand okay? Here we go. First me, then you. Oh, yeah. All right. Sorry. I just interrupted myself. Here we go. 1. Here I go. Just do that. Right. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to do the last 4 bars now of this line. So again, try that. I'll do it with you. Here we go. 1, 2, go. Okay. Everybody kind of get that? By the way, when you're learning by ear, you get really tired. I'm just going to tell you that. Okay, so last 4 measures again. I did a slide, a trill, slide. I filled this out. I did a little ditty. Okay. So let's do those last 4 bars together one more time. Play with me there. Here we go. Ready and go. Okay, good. Now let's play through the next 4 bars, which is exactly like the first line. And then we'll do the ending. So here we are. First me, then you. Let's try that together. Ready and go. Good. Okay. Now me. So one more time. Play with me if you'd like. Ready and go. Now, because this is, the dance itself is very simple, well, it's really a 1 step, 1 step, and then they do some filling steps. We have the opportunity to do more slides, more trills, and more fills. So slide, trill, even a little slide here, a fill. Okay? So let's play through these 16 bars together. And I know we're going fast, but that's okay. We're going to do it anyway. Here we go. We'll play it together, okay? 1, ready, go. Okay, when you're doing a jacques or a hora, not like the Israeli hora, but the 1 in 3, very common at the end of a phrase after the, let's say, especially after you've done one time through and the second time, backwards arpeggio. Very common. So it's a good idea to get those under your fingers and all that. We don't play in a lot of keys. We don't really play with a lot of flats unless we're playing with, you know, a lot of horn players. But in the fiddle-based bands, it's really pretty much D minor, G minor, C minor, F minor sometimes, sometimes F sharp minor. So anyway, it's pretty usually pretty easy to do those. Okay, now I just want to draw your attention to, say, measure 18. We have, right? We have those notes, very common. Also common. We're just basically filling spaces, just like Baroque music. So let's do the first 4 bars. Let's see, 1, 2, da, da, da. Yeah, through the except for the pickup, we'll do 17, 18, and 19. First me, then you. Here we go. I'm going to do a slide, trill. Let's try that together and go. That's it. Now we have coming up. Now that this note on measure 22, that E on the recording, it's somewhere between an E and an E flat. So my answer to that is I just play them both. Or I play somewhere in between. Got to take your dissonance like a man. But so, and also because we've been doing this rhythm, I might play. So I'm going to play it a couple of different ways, and let's see if you can imitate them. All right? I swear we're going to have time for the chassidol. Can people go like 5 or 10 minutes later? Can everybody go a little later? Okay. Okay, good. Is that okay, Daria and Katie? It's okay to do that? Go a little longer? Okay. So we're going to start with the pickup to measure, let's see, 17, 18, 19, 20. Pick up to measure 21. I play first, then you play with me. First me. Okay, ready? And go. Okay, one more time. Here we go. Okay, so you can see we're just getting started and adding all the kinds of little fills that come in. Okay, now to do the turnaround to come back to the, we're going to pretend we played this through already the first time. This will be our second time. First 4 measures are exactly the same as what's above it. So. Right? Let's just try that together again. Ready and go. Trill. Okay, and then the last 4 bars, pretty simple. I go F E D to get my F E to get myself back to the repeat. Okay? I know we're just touching the surface of these things. But this dance is a very cool dance because it's so simple, and some of the variations people do are so beautiful. Let's just talk a little bit about the chords before we jump to the chassidol. As a chord player, you're usually going to stay in the lower part of the instrument so you're not in the way of the melody. and you're going to often play the fifth and the tonic and the fifth, usually backwards. So like if it's D minor, open D and then A on the. Now as viola players, we can of course. So what I want to do is I want to give you a couple of different accompaniment lines just on D minor for now. And you just copy me. I'll do them a total of 4 times, but you join me on the third and fourth. So I'll do 2, then you come in and do 2, and then we might do it twice, and then I'll change it. Okay? So the first one. Now you. Good. Let's keep doing this for a minute. Here comes a new one. Good. So I'm kind of sometimes playing almost in a crooked 2. So that's one thing. So it's a good idea to kind of look at the, this is what we call a lead sheet. A lead sheet has the melody and the chord symbols on top. And it's a good idea to learn how to get between all of these chords, D to D minor. So that was D minor to A major to D minor. And that would be Klezmer music 202. This is 101. So that's a whole nother story. But I teach even my classical students to read a lead sheet, because if they go to college and they're sitting on a porch in when this pandemic thing is over, somebody's going to throw them down a lead sheet, and if they can't make some sense out of the D minor and the A major and the D minor and all of these things, then they're going to kind of feel a little left out. Okay, any questions on this, Jacques, before we go to the Chassidol? Okay, awesome. Great. All right, we're going to go to Kostakovsky, Chassidol number 10.
Cookie?
Yes.
This is Dee Dee. I've never seen these dances, so if as a follow-up, if you could recommend some videos to watch so we can get the idea of what you're describing. It sounds really fascinating.
Good. I'll do that. What I'll do is I'll send it to Daria, or let's see. Or if you email me privately, let me just put my email address in here right now. Okay. And I'll send you some videos of dances. They'll be scrappy, but there have been folks that have been doing some research on dances in Eastern Europe and have developed some kind of theories about how they went, and in certain areas like New York City, people from Europe it's still in the culture of if you play a Jewish wedding there, you're going to play a Bulgar, you're going to play a Freilich, probably going to play a Hora, and because there's still some memory of the link to European stuff like that. There's also a Russian share, which is like a square dance. It's a 4 couples dance, and what's interesting is in a lot of the musicological collections, which is where a lot of this music that you're playing right now comes from. And matter of fact, this Kostakovsky Chassidol is from a first violin book of a band folio from I think Zephyr is at 1919 or 1917. The Kostakovsky, I don't remember, but it's a band folio, and so these were things over in the States that the Europeans remembered. So Kostakovsky was the band leader, and this was his band book. So, and my husband republished this through Terra Publications and actually put chord symbols, but there were no chord symbols because it's an international band folio, dance folio is what it was called. So there's Polish, there's Russian, there's Hungarian, a couple of Chardashes in that collection. It's quite amazing. But this is a really interesting chassidol because the chassidol, it means little chassid, and little Hasidic person. But what it is it's a two-step dance. It's very simple. And if you imagine in Europe, the men wore these kapots, these long, heavy wool coats, and a big hat, and they couldn't move around too fast. So there was a lot of this, swaying back and forth, and that's what this dance originates as. Okay, I'm going to play it for you with the repeats because it's so tiny, and there's so anyway, this is a medium tempo dance. So here we go. Okay, so that's that one. I kind of messed with that a lot. So one thing what I thought we would do is just for a few minutes talk a little bit about some melodic variations, because this is a perfect place to do it. Okay, let's see. Let's take measure 11, the G minor section there. Well, it's all G minor. There's a saying in the klezmer world. It's usually D minor. I G minored it for our viola time today. But they say, well, to you D minor is a key. To me, it's a living, because everything is in D minor. It's a key that horn players, clarinets can play with violins, and nobody complains. So, anyway, let's take these two measures. Just those two measures, okay? And we're going to just mess with them a little bit. So I'll play, you play back to me. Okay, here we go. Ready, and... Okay, then... Okay, now I've got you where I want you, so... And now that you're comfortable with that... Great. Next two measures. As written, and then we will untie the binds that hold it together. Here we go. Next one. Okay, now that you're comfortable. Okay, the next two measures we won't mess up too bad. So, try that. Good. Next one. Okay, so on that, with those measures, to get to measure 18, so I played. Let's do the whole 15 through 18. Okay, me first, and then you. Good. So the idea is when you have a very simple line that, like the B flat tripod, I was just thinking about cameras, triad, when you have the B flat triad, you can fill it in a way that you would, like I said, in a Baroque piece. Okay. What I would like to do now, and I know, this was like a surface kind of study, but I just wanted to give you a taste of this music, and now I'd love to open it up for questions, or if something didn't gel with you, questions would be great right now.
Would you mind playing all the way through with us playing along with you once?
Sure. Okay, on this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, before we do that, just so you know, the chord treatment of this, the harmony treatment is pretty straight. That's pretty much how I would do the chords on this. Okay, so I'll give you I'll give you a 1 and 2 and ready and go. Okay, we'll do it with the repeats. 1 and 2 and ready and go. Okay, I'm stamping my feet when I do this because I have to kind of, and when I play it, if I play it, I actually kind of rock back and forth. like a dork so that I can kind of feel what it feels like, the dance steps feel like. Okay? So, one thing I will say before I let you go, I'm going to give you a Doina DNA. We haven't talked about Doina at all. Doina is the improvisatory form. It's one of the listening tunes that are played. These are all around the Jewish wedding, and that's a whole nother story. But so the Doina is taken from, Doina means, I think, song, and it's really a shepherd song, and it's taken from the Romanian shepherd songs. And the Romanian Doinas are very harmonically dense and complicated and lovely and wonderful. And if anybody wants any recordings of those, you'll be sorry you asked. I got jillions of them. But the typical Jewish Doina, which nobody does, is let's take D minor. It would be D minor, and I'm going to show it to you, so this will mean something in a minute. D minor, G minor, D minor. Back to G minor, back to D minor. To G major, for a second to E major, which is really E altered Phrygian because it's an E with an F natural and G sharp. Back to G minor, back to D. Now I'm going to translate that to viola. So G minor, C minor, G minor, C minor, G minor, C major. Back to let's see. C. Let's see. If I said G minor, C, then to E, F, G major for a minute. Oh no, A major for a minute, and then back to C minor, back to G minor. I'm going to show you a real quick one, and then I'm going to give you a DNA for you to work on and build it at home in your very own house, because where else are you going to go? It's smoky out there. Okay, so here is a typical with the G minor first. So I just made a little, like a Reader's Digest version. So, but to learn how to do that is the best way is to just study the motives in one key. So to study the motives in the key of G, it's really G Ukrainian Dorian. It's G minor with a raised with a C sharp. So here's the 3 statements, the Doina DNA that you can work on at home. The first one, and matter of fact, play it after me, okay? First one is this. That's the first one. Try it. Okay. Second one. Last one, easy peasy, right? Now that don't sound so Jewish, does it? But wait, there's more. So we do a slide and a trill and some repetition. Another slide, crafts, trill, a little arpeggio, trill, again. We've already done 2 of the statements, then another repeating, even an extension. All of a sudden it starts to sound a little more like a Jewish Doina. That would be the G minor part. Okay? More to come at some point. All right, now Any questions? No questions?
When's the gig?
When is the gig?
You mentioned the dances and dancing them. So would that be like just definitely in your cards if you were trying to learn the music? Would you start with the dances? Would you just make sure that your students had learned the dances, or how does the dance fit in?
Well, I think I'm a horrible dancer. I mean, no, I'm not a horrible dancer, but I haven't studied these dances. I've been playing these, golly, how the hell old am I? I've been playing these things for 35 or 40 years. So, and more when I was younger. So it's, I think for the students to, students coming from a non-dance culture, it would be great for them to learn the dances. So when I teach these, I pull up a video for the students to see what the dances are like. And, I usually will have them try to kind of do a little of the steps. I'm not a dance teacher, so I don't really teach them. I can't teach all of the steps, but just to get the feeling of what, the combination of horizontal and vertical movement that is necessary. So definitely I insist that they at least see videos and understand the relationship between the beat and the dances.
I have one up if you'd like to look at 30 seconds of it.
Sure. Let's see if it's anyone I know. This is a hospital. Yeah, that's a hospital. That's a variation on a hospital, kind of in and out. Yeah, very simple dance.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you give us something of your perspective when you were a classical player going into this music? What did you see? How difficult did it seem to get
Well,
over?
I came the other way. I played this music first as a kid, and then I rebelled by taking up viola because my parents didn't know what it was. So that's what I got my degree in. So I kind of came to it from the other end, and I actually got to college without really being able to read music. I just did it all by ear, faked my way through high school orchestra and the youth symphony in Kansas City where I grew up. And my teacher there said, "You're not reading the piece in front of you, you're playing it by ear." And I said, no, I'm reading the black dots, I'm reading it. And he said, no, because you're playing the version of this Stamitz cadenza that's in the listening library, not what's in front of you. So I actually in college had to he killed me that year. He said, I'm going to make this, you're going to learn to read by the end of this year. Turned me into a really good reader. But so I came to it from the other side, honestly. But a classical player, we've done a lot of workshops in different universities, and we mostly deal with classical students and classical players. And, so much of the classical repertoire comes from folk music. And what I would recommend to a classical player is to listen to folk all over the world, folk recordings of, people who that's all they do is they play for dancing. There's a lot of Polish ones there. I play a lot of Polish music too. There's especially the Moldavian and Romanian and Ukrainian fiddle players who are really technical whizzes, and most of them don't read any music. So the idea, also a lot of my kids, you get a student who's a real eye learner and they can sight read anything, but they can't play Happy Birthday. So what I try to do also with classical folks is you want to teach your fingers to do what your ear is hearing. So the way to do that is first you have to tell your fingers, if the note goes higher, you put more fingers down. If the note goes lower, you pick more fingers up. And have them, I give my kids an ear tune once a month. and I make it so simple. Red River Valley is a really good one. I have a couple of Polish marches and some really simple polkas to develop the ear playing. And so that's what I would say to a classical player is listen to some, tune you like and pick it out on your instrument. And not only just the notes, but the inflection of voice, because voice doesn't play on the beat. Voice anticipates a lot and also holds out to notes. That makes sense? Yeah.
I have another question about the instrumentation. In general, I was wondering a couple of things. One is when you're playing in a performance, I imagine that things are kind of laid out as to who's playing what. But when you're playing, say, for a dance band, or is there such a thing as a session, would people just be kind of wildly improvising over the tunes at the same time? Like there's clarinet doing it and violin doing it and accordion doing it? And
that's a great question. We don't arrange anything. And matter of fact, we call our set list Fiddler's Choice, because we'll make a set list. I can't see it without my glasses, so I don't even know what's on it. I think our group has been playing together for about 18 years, so we know each other really well. And, I'm married to one of them, so there's that. But we don't make arrangements like the first time through the A section, I'll play the melody. We don't make any of those arrangements. And so sometimes there are little, things that happen, like we'll get done with something and my husband will go, you went into a different tune in the B section, right? And I go, really? I don't know that. So one of the things that, and at dance parties, it's really and all bets are off. You just, if for instance, we're keeping a certain tempo, so it's important. We don't do medleys, and we do medleys of tunes, but not medleys of rhythms in dance parties. And if I'm tired or something, I'll look over at Josh and say, "Can you take it?" And he'll pick up something on the same rhythm, and he'll go into a tune that he's comfortable leading. So a lot of the style of this, one thing that I, when I'm coaching folks, I kind of try to get them, if they're going to make a book, I try to make them arrange it in tempos. So you would have maybe 5 or 6 husitals together. You would have 5 or 6 bulgars together. But the idea of, it's all really like a session, honestly. If in our group, I'm probably the one that has more tunes in my head. I don't think harmonically at all, so I don't, I depend on those guys to know what bass line to play and what, kind of harmony stuff to play. But, I can go tune to tune to tune to tune and know they're going to either follow me or they're going to make it up so that it sounds like they're following me. But sometimes there are little crashes. I found that if I really plan out a set list, and we do sometimes, if we're doing a concert that's, a lot of people or is going to be recorded, we'll make a set list. But we don't determine how many times we're going to play through a tune, which is one of the reasons that I anticipate entrances so that the other members will know what I'm doing. And it's also common sometimes if I give a look like I'll just kind of look over like I'm going to change something. The first measure will be me alone, and then they know what it is I'm playing. And that has become part of the style, actually.
Are any folk traditions viola-centric at all?
The viola, we are, all of us. The viola is really used as a chord instrument and or as a lower octave instrument. The instrumentation, by the way, in Europe was mostly string-based. It was typical to have maybe 2 or 3 violins, a viola, and a cello that would be like a field bass, a cello with either 3 strings or 4, tuned oftentimes like a bass. And there would be a primash, a person playing first fiddle. The second player would play an octave lower, and then there might be a chord player. They call it the Jewish quartet. It's really 3 small strings and 1 large string. So Jews by law were not allowed to play loud music. And there were a lot of very restrictive. There was a guild actually as far back as the 16th or 15th century, and there were many rules depending on different towns and the relationship Jews had with the people in charge. But it was very common that they were not allowed to have brass instruments. They were not allowed to have drums. So it became very string based. So a typical instrumentation of a band would be 3 fiddles, a bass, maybe if the military bands had come through that town, a trumpet, maybe a trumpet, depending on if there were rules in place that prevented that.
So would there be regional differences as well in instrumentation? Sorry to be so.
Yeah, because yeah, absolutely. Like for instance, in Warsaw before World War I, the Professional Musicians Guild was mostly musicians. So in one of the projects we did, which was Polish music, there wasn't really a relationship between Polish village music and Jewish music because Jewish musicians were city players. And so those musicians, there would have been a cymbalum, there would have been probably accordions and more city style instruments, and possibly if they were hired by Polish nobility or by Polish families, which was considered good luck, they might have a horn player too. And of course, clarinet came later and really became more popular in the States than it was in Europe. In my own father's town of Veretsky, there was, he described a person who played what sounded like a mellophone, an instrument that was a trumpet with a big bell. And one of my friends at Wesleyan, who was doing ethnomusicology on Carpathian music in the Carpathian Mountains, where my folks are from, wanted to interview my father. And he said, "Can you describe this instrument?" And my father said, "It's a big bell," and he played it like a trumpet. So this guy had this feeling that it was a mellophone because of the military bands that had come through the Carpathians, and oftentimes they sold their instruments for something else. Maybe they needed a coat. So there was a lot of that. And my father said, "Where did you go to college?" Listen, he was a Ukrainian trumpet player. He was a drunk. He kept dropping it. Every time he dropped it, the blacksmith had to hammer it. Every time he hammered it, the trumpet bell got bigger. What are they teaching you in this college? So there were other, there were other instruments, and there were sometimes brass instruments, but it was mostly string based.
Cookie?
Yes.
So if there were like 2, 3, 4 violins in the same band, were they playing different little variations of the melody at the same time?
Well, in some cases, yes, because in some cases they had learned it differently. And, we've learned by listening to some of the recordings that Sofia Megid collected in Belarus and northern Ukraine in the late 1920s, that there was usually a person playing in the upper octave and a person playing in the lower octave, and then 1 or 2 fiddle players playing chords and oftentimes thirds. And even though, we've been taught the Klezmer, the local, the Klezmer revival is what we've been teaching. But in listening to those recordings, we found that actually they did play up higher. And there was a very common to have lots of unisons and octave spreads. So, Maureen, like when we've talked to your group about it, we've said, don't be afraid to all play the melody at the same time, but also somebody should play an octave lower, and then 1 or 2 people should be playing chords.
But they're
Yes.
playing maybe different melodies at the same, like the little differences that you were showing us, for example.
Yeah, well,
One's doing one and one's doing another.
Yeah, with Varetsky Pass, we hardly, a matter of fact, if we play the same line, we kind of look at each other and laugh, because there's a lot of cacophony going on, and it's, sometimes things cross. But if you have a small group, like if you have a trio and sometimes there's some dissonance, it makes the trio feel bigger. So we like it. Yes, somebody else had a question. Yes, Daria.
Okay. Again, how far back do the recordings go, and who was making them?
So there was a slew of I was going to say flew, but slew of field recordings being done around the time Bartok did. And of course, because the wax cylinder machine was available, we have recordings back into the late 1800s, but most of the recordings that we have of this music start around 1907 and then, you know, go a little bit later. But recently, these collectors that went in, like for instance, the Soviet Union had a few expeditions of different collectors. One was Sophia Magid, one was Moshe Beregovsky. There was the Ansky expedition. There was, at the same time Bartok was doing his field work. It was kind of a thing in the 1920s. And so most of the stuff comes from there. But some of the Polish things, for instance, there was a priest, Oskar Kolberg, who went through Poland in the mid-1800s. So ethnomusicology itself, the study of ethnic musics and traditions, probably as far as collection that we're accessing are from the mid-1800s. But the recordings are usually, I think, when was the record? Like 1890s, even 1880s, but mostly turn of the 20th century, I think. So there are some digitized, there was a university in Potsdam that digitized Sophia Magid's wax recordings, and there were I think it was like over 600 of them. First time I had heard folk fiddle players, because most of the fiddle players that were in recording were also classically trained. And they would be, especially when the immigrants came over here in the big immigration between 1880s and 1920s, the recording industry that was just starting found a market. They would make Czech recordings for the Czech immigrants, Polish for the Polish, German for the German. So on one side, one group, one record, 178 would be the Polish American Orchestra. Then the musicians would do another session called the Romanian American Orchestra. Then they would do another one, the Greek American Orchestra. Oftentimes very much the same. But there are some that by the mysterious Belf, B-E-L-F, who was we don't know, we think he was a clarinet player and played this very stylized set of tunes. Some of these, I don't actually know, the Jacques is, I think, might have a recording of that. Very stylized with a lot of chirping. We think he was a clarinet player, but chirp, 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 and a lot of little slides. I think it was parody music. I think he was parodizing. But most people don't think that. That's my own rebellious way of looking at it. But, most of the recordings we have of this music are not of specifically folk players. Like in some of the American traditions, we do have that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you so very, very much, Cookie. It was fascinating. And,
great.
A great big hand to you
Thank you so much.
All of us. We really, really enjoyed that.
Great.
We will make any recordings or dance resources that you want to share available to everybody who came today, and the recording as well.
Yeah, I'll send you some links of stuff, and then I'll also prepare a Dropbox folder that I'll keep up for about 30 days, and then I'll take it down. So anybody that wants to access it can do that.
Thank you.
Okay?
That'd be
great to see all of you. Annie.
Thank you, Cookie. It was so good to
Zafer,
see you.
it's great to see you, Zafer.
So next week is David. Is David here? I think he was here for a little while. I think he might have left already.
Yeah.
Yeah, so next week is his bodywork stuff, and then the week after is Tom talking about practicing. Do you want to say anything about it? You have to unmute.